Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Owl Pod, the official podcast of Temple Athletics. I'm your host, Kevin Copp, and our very special guest today is our first Owl Pod Olympian. It's our very own Temple field hockey head coach, Michelle Vittese. Michelle is in her fifth season here as the head coach of Temple, becoming the fastest Temple field hockey coach to 50 wins since 1992 and taking the Owls all the way to the 2024 Big East Championship Final. Prior to her time here at Temple, Michelle was an All-American at the University of Virginia and a member of the U.S. Senior National Team, where she was a two-time Pan American Games gold medalist and two-time Olympian in 2012 and 2016 with Team USA. Here is Michelle Vittese after this quick word from our Owl Pod sponsors.
And we're back with the action. Coke Zero Sugar might be the best Coke ever.
That's right, Jim. With an irresistible taste and zero sugar, Coke Zero Sugar is a must-try for any sports fan. So make sure you... Wait, Jim, I didn't mean try it right now. We're still on the air.
Best Coke ever? Take a taste, Jen.
Really?
No, not right now, Jen. We got a game to call.
This is not your, so like how loud or quiet it is in your ear is not how loud it is in the thing. So if you want yourself to be a little quieter, that's like a personal preference. I can do that without, how's that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Because I'm loud too.
Yeah, but you have like you
well,
have
I'm
to
just,
be loud.
I'm immune to my own voice. You know how like
Same.
your voice, you know, like I'm just used to it. I've heard it played back so many times.
Yeah.
For better and worse. I don't know.
I'm exactly the same. Like,
yeah.
And my husband always laughs at me because he's just like, I don't think you are used to your volume. And I'm like, well, I have to be loud.
Yeah, you can't really turn it on and turn it off.
No,
like it just,
no.
you know, yeah.
Okay. So
All right. So let's start at the beginning. Let's go all the way back to
what year?
Cherry Hill, 1989. Take us back.
Okay, born in Pensy Hospital. Actually lived and grew up in Deptford, New Jersey, which is, I guess, more south than Cherry Hill. We moved to Cherry Hill when I was in like ninth grade or something. And this is like classic. My father, he bought the house. My parents bought the house when we were in kindergarten. And we did not move in for 8 or 9 years. He did it all himself. Obviously, hired different contractors for different things, but like took him forever. My poor mother.
This was like his Biltmore estate.
Yeah,
this
and I mean, it doesn't look like that.
right. But like,
he's doing it all. Yeah, he was an engineer, like
okay.
At Rutgers. They both went to Rutgers, New Brunswick. And my mom was, I think, a ceramic engineer, which I don't know that is even, I don't know, maybe she wasn't. That's like what I thought she was. And I think my dad was either electrical or something. But so he has like a knack for doing all the DIY
there is a type.
Stuff. There is, yes. And I am not that way. Carissa's more wired like that than I am. But yeah, anyway, so he did it all himself. But yeah, we grew up in Deptford, moved to Cherry Hill, I'm one of 3 girls.
Right. I want to get to that.
Okay,
yeah. Let's dive in there. Because by the time you moved to Cherry Hill, then if you're in ninth grade, then what? You're 1 year older than Carissa and 4 years older than
So
Tara?
I'm
What's
December
the
of
breakdown?
89. She's April of 92.
Oh, okay.
So a little bit
more.
Yeah. So 2 classes, like her and I, when I was a junior, she entered her freshman year in college. So I was 2 grades above her. And 6 grades above my youngest sister.
Okay.
We're not grades, years. So I don't know how that translates to grades. But there's 3 of us.
What was that dynamic? Because when you're young, 6 years is infinite. It's so big, but you're obviously all picking up field hockey, you being the oldest of the 3. So how is this all playing out in
I would
Deptford?
say, like, relationship-wise growing up. It's so long ago, so I'm, like, trying to, like, pinpoint. I had a very sports-heavy upbringing. My father always played in, like, rec leagues as an adult. He didn't play college sports. My mother also didn't play college sports, but they both played high school sports. And my dad just, like, loved sports. The ball game was always on in the background. It wasn't, like no screen time, which is like how I'm raising my children now. I'm like, oh my God, not in front of a screen. It was very different then.
Yeah, yes, for all of us. We were all raised in front of the TV. Yeah, that was life.
And sports was always on. I would always be like, a little like rink rat because my dad would be playing like men's league hockey. And again, there was also no bedtime for me. Like, I was literally there with him running around the sidelines while he was playing.
Yeah.
And so just big, heavy sports upbringing. I didn't do a lot of like rec stuff. And I didn't do a lot of variety of stuff. So I think in middle school, I played softball, I played field hockey, and played basketball. So those were the three. I ended up picking up lacrosse when I went to high school, but I didn't have like this. I don't know. There's like all the little things now that I have a toddler. I'm like,
Yes.
oh, there's soccer shots. Like we
Yeah.
didn't do all that. It was mostly, just whatever my dad was doing, we were around. But then I started roller skating, because he played roller hockey. And at a young age, Carissa and I both were like put into like this almost like rec program, like a youth program where they just taught you how to skate. And then they had like advanced skate, and the roller rink was like big. I don't know how old you are, but I'm 35.
We're the same age.
Yeah,
we're the same age. July of 88.
Yeah.
So.
So the roller rink culture, like
Yeah.
Friday nights, like going, playing music, like you just would skate around.
Was this the one in Voorhees?
So
Skate Zone? Or?
No, at Deptford.
Okay.
In Deptford Skating Center. But yeah, the Voorhees Skate
Yeah.
Zone was something that we always played at
Sure.
as well. And so that was what we did. And that was like my nights. I got really good at it. And eventually there was like a hockey club out of Deptford Skating Center. And one of the parents who also coached of another boy was like, you should bring her out, like let her play. And it really just took off. I was probably 8 when that happened. And then I was playing with boys, which was, interesting. It's, I don't know, I guess Caitlin Connell was very similar. Or not Caitlin Connell, Caitlin Clark, sorry. Caitlin
yes.
Connell was a really good field hockey player. That was just, she committed somewhere else anyway. But Caitlin Clark, it was very similar to her. There wasn't a lot of female specific stuff, and it kind of only followed later that I felt like I was more as an older person playing with women. So
when we talked to Sharifa,
Yeah.
same thing. The
Yeah.
first time she played field hockey was the first time
Yeah.
she wasn't just the girl on the
Yeah.
boys team, even
Yeah.
playing soccer or whatever. Like it was just, she was an athlete. She played
Yeah.
with the boys, and field hockey was the first time that you're playing against other girls. So
Yes.
similar.
yeah, and so we did that. It kind of took off. We were playing in youth hockey leagues, and then eventually at the club level where you would travel. There's an AAU Junior Olympics for this, where all these teams from all over the country go and compete. And eventually, in 5th grade, I went to Haddonfield Friends, the Quaker school, like
Yeah,
right in
yeah.
Haddonfield. And my PE teacher was also the field hockey coach at Queen of Heaven. And then was like, and now she taught at Camden Catholic High School, which is where I went. And she was like, just come out, play at the 6th grade team. And hockey is very different than field hockey, where there's like line changes. So
Yeah.
I would go out there, I would run around, do crazy stuff on the ball, and I'd be so tired, I would just run off the field. And she was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, you have to stay out there. And I was like, no, I'm tired.
You do your 2-minute shift.
Exactly,
And
yeah. So then from there, I played on that team for a little bit, have like vague memories of that. And then eventually in 6th grade, I went to Rosa International Middle School in Cherry Hill. I don't know if it's called International anymore, just Rosa Middle School. And tried out for, they have the tryouts. I made varsity. And club hockey was picking up, but it wasn't as inundated with like the daily scheduling, like the individual trainings. Like it was not so much a business as it is now.
Yeah, we were the last generation that was
Yes.
able to do youth sports in a way
Yes.
that hasn't been totally.
Yes,
That's a separate
Ruined.
topic. Yeah,
which is so sad. But
yes.
yeah, so it was like twice a week we would go out. We played on grass. We weren't like picky about what the pitch was like. Like it was just like go out and play for you and play to develop. And it was liberating. I mean, it was so fun. It was great. We had a really great group of girls who ended up all playing Division I hockey through some went to Michigan, Maryland, and I just always aspired to, I looked up to them and I wanted to be playing college hockey. But yeah, it just ended up, that was kind of like our path, and it all stemmed from like me being great at another sport. Back to roller hockey. I mean, I ended up being like, there is a women's national team for that. There's youth national teams for that. It's very similar. I was like Carissa and I both were good enough to play at that level. And so we did. It was, most of the women like who played at that level also played ice hockey at
Well,
that
that was
level.
going to be my dumb question. Is I'm assuming since there isn't Division I roller
Yeah,
hockey, but
no.
there is ice hockey, there is field hockey. Is it like do
Yeah,
you
there's
kind of
a
pick your
path, I
path?
think.
And so
Yeah,
could
for
you
sure.
have just ended up playing ice hockey in a different world?
I could have. I just think it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Again, like it was all stemmed from that one, recess where that teacher was like, here's like that styrofoam stick with the styrofoam ball. And I just was, I guess, running circles around my classmates. And she was like, you should really play this sport. And so my dad didn't know. There was no direction. Like he had never played a college sport. And so him and my mom, I guess, just like, I'm so fortunate. Chris and I and my youngest sister, both, all three of us played Division I sports. Like they just did put us wherever we needed to go. Even if both of them were going, if one of them were going, if they were sending us with another family, and I was like sleeping on the cot in someone else's room, like they made it so possible for us to do whatever we wanted. And it wasn't to get a scholarship, like not to me. It wasn't for that. It wasn't to go play division. It was just because I was passionate about it and I was good at it. And kind of like, that intersection of those two things. And it just, I think, now being a parent, like that's probably like what you dream of for your kid.
Yeah.
They love it. They are so happy. They light up when they play it. They're good. And it's fun for you to be a part of that.
But there's still a purity to it.
Yes,
it's not all
right.
of it. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And it was just different. Like that was like, like you said, the last generation of that, I guess. But yeah, so I don't know. That's a very long-winded answer to.
How do you end up at UVA? Obviously, you're going to be playing at that level. You're going to get top interest from top schools. UVA is certainly among that elite group, but just how did you land there?
Recruiting was so different. Obviously, now being a Division I college coach, and we start 2 years early. We recruit sophomores, summer of their sophomore year, going into their junior year is when we start recruiting them now. I did not commit, just to give you perspective, until like November of my senior year.
Which is just like when you would decide to go to school as a
Right.
student. That's like
Correct.
when I decided to go as a non-athlete. It was just part of the
like you
admissions
apply and you're like,
process.
wait, this is where I got in. Yeah.
Right.
So yes, this process for me was like a little bit later. And I remember a girlfriend of mine, like a really good friend still to this day, she committed to Duke like the summer before. And that was like early because they had junior days and you would go out and, be a part of this. And that was when the process would start. It was a little bit later. But I ended up at Virginia because, and this is kind of funny, I guess a couple of places that were interested, like Maryland, Michigan, Virginia. I remember, like, I had a phone call from the Rutgers coach, like, on my answering machine at home when I would come home, played it, and I think maybe it was, like, September 1st they could contact us at that time. I don't remember. It might have been August, but either way, like, listening to it on the answering machine, that was, like, my memory of being recruited. And my dad was, very involved in this process in the sense of, like, you have to be happy if something were to happen injury-wise and you wouldn't be able to play. Where would you want to be? There wasn't a transfer portal culture. I mean, that came about obviously much later. It was like, where are you going to get the best degree? Where are you going to be able to study something that's going to have a profound impact in your life, and where are you going to be? I think it was, I don't necessarily know that it was about impact or playing. It was about where can you help build a program. And at the time, the coach who coached, she actually coached at Temple, Michelle Madison, she recruited me, and we were probably her second recruiting class when she got the job there. She came from Michigan State, and I think she got that job at 07 or 08. And I graduated high school in 08. And she recruited me, another, like, she was an Olympian, Paige Selinsky from, like, Dallas, PA, absolute stud. And another good friend of mine, Rachel Jennings, she was one of 3 triplets, played at Emmaus for Sue Butzdaven, who, like, just got, I think, I don't know if you're familiar with, she's like a Hall of Fame coach, 1,100 wins. I mean, compared to my 50. I'm like, wow, I got to be in this for a
Only
while.
several decades to go.
She played for her. And, like, so our class was, I mean, with a couple of others, some internationals as well. Like, we were very good, and we had made pretty, I think my freshman year, I think we played an Elite 8. I was injured for some of that year because I did something to my knee. But then, I played throughout their career there, 2 Final Fours, an ACC championship, never won anything. But, we, I think, were the first group. I think before that, and I'm actually good friends with, I'm good friends with one of the alum that graduated a little bit older than me. Like, they had a couple of down years maybe at Virginia before we got there. But, then we were able to create a really big impact and make it I don't know that they had in 4 years' time. I don't know that anyone has competed in 2 Final Fours there. So, or an AC championship. That just hasn't happened in a class grouping, I don't think, since. But history could correct me. I don't know.
And then along the way, obviously, being 2 years older than Carissa,
Yeah.
then as you're getting established,
Yeah.
she's now going to go through the recruiting process. Clearly, obviously, I'm sure there are pros, cons from your
Yeah.
parents' standpoint. The travel aspect, having everyone in the same place is good. Was it complicated at any point? What was that
Honestly,
as players?
she did, my dad was very, he was just pretty big in the recruiting process with both of us. So I'm always referencing my father. But both of my parents she got the full song and dance. Anywhere she wanted to go, she looked. They explored every option. I think ultimately, though, she loved Charlottesville. She loved the culture of the University of Virginia and ended up selecting it. Now, her and I don't talk much about the process about that, but, some sisters and siblings want to be at the same place and some don't. And I think all of my siblings, the 3 girls, we always love being a part of each other's lives, and we have the great fortune of being able to do that. My youngest sister lives in Northern Liberties right now. She's a mile from us, and Carissa lives 4 blocks north of me. We get to work together. It's such a privilege. And so you'd have to ask her, but I think she did love being a part of it, and that's maybe why she selected it. I don't think she thought about ease for my parents at all. I think it was more I feel integrated from being a part of your life, that it was a seamless transition for her. And she made it even better. Her class, she had another unbelievable recruiting class that Michelle did, that she was able to secure, which was great. So yeah, she played in one of those 2 Final Fours with me. So
Is this concurrent or after UVA is done that now we start getting into national team, Olympics, Pan American, all of that?
So
now the highest of the high
Yeah.
level at the sport. Where does that come into the picture?
How this works, at least how it did work, was coaches were very involved in the collegiate process, because that is the only almost professionalized way of training from ages 18 to 22. After that, there is no professional league in America. So really, you're going from those years directly onto the national team. So the coach would come do major games, major conference championships, NCAA championships, all that stuff, and watch. And there's interaction after one of the games. We were at Wake Forest. This must have been, and our coach made us stay there after we lost. So this might have been an ACC tournament somewhere, where we lost in the semi, or we lost in a Final Four, and she made us stay for the championship. I don't remember which one, but that did happen. They just, the coach at the time walked over and was like, we really want you to come out and play for us. After just watching one of the games. And, it was kind of scary and difficult. And at the time that was my first introduction to the team. And I went and trained a little bit, but I was still in college. So it was just a really hard transition to go back and forth. But then in the summer of 2010, they name a squad. They named a 26 or 25 person squad, where myself and my teammate at the time, Paige Slinsky, were both named to the senior national team as a 2010. So I was, I don't know, 20
or 21.
Either, 20 or 21. And then after that, we made a decision. It's, going on to an Olympic year in 2012. We made a decision. There was Paige and I from Virginia, 4 girls from Princeton at the time. Girls from, I'm trying to think, Carolina and Maryland, who we all took a year. that Olympic redshirt year and basically moved to San Diego, rented a house, and kind of trained professionally for the year. And so after that, when you commit to that, there is this very high chance that you don't get selected because at the national team level, team of 16 is selected for Olympic qualifier tournaments. It might have since been 18. They might have changed that, but it was 16, 17, 18 are alternates. And so one of 16 is...
Right. Well, that's fully a third of the people that made it to this rung are not going on.
Yes. Yeah. And so there is that chance, which having to operate at a very high level under extreme stress and anxiety and worry and fear and panic, it requires a certain stability mentally, and it requires a certain level of support from your family. Not only do you not make money, but they have to support you and they have to field phone calls from a crying Michelle, when she has a bad day or a bad this, or I wasn't on this roster for this game. But it's just part of it. And at the highest level, it is hard. It is cutthroat. But I do think it prepares you for some of the world's biggest stages, regardless of, if it's not sport, but it prepares you to be in rooms with people all over the world and have conversations and have a certain level of self-belief that, takes lifetimes for some to figure out. But so then, from there, it was the 2011 gold medal against Argentina, which directly qualified us for 2012. And then 2012 Olympics. And then after that was the 2014 World Cup, where we put ourselves in a pretty, almost the best chance we ever had to medal. Played in a semifinal. Played in a third, fourth game, I believe. Sorry, this is all kind of blurring together. And lost to Australia. Or that was a semi. I don't exactly remember. I'm sorry. But, and then 2016 Olympics and 2018 World Cup before retirement, which it's a long road. I was going to say 200-something caps and, 10 years, almost 10 years. It's a long time. It's a third of my life.
Is there a highlight of that stretch for you? I imagine just as a casual, not an athlete, playing at the Olympics has to be the grandest stage that there is. Is that, but you are two-time gold medalist at the Pan American Games to qualify. Is there something that really, now kind of having some distance and looking back at that stretch that is wow, field hockey got me here?
A little emotional about it because it's so weird. I would definitely say the Olympics are probably the peak of that experience. Looking back, it is the most memorable. I also think my experience between 12 and 16 was very different. In 2012, we, were kind of fumbling around in our preparation. We trained hard. We thought we trained hard and we thought we did everything we needed to do. But then, we had a different culture, different staff, different environment in 2016. We were uprooted from San Diego and plopped into Lancaster County, which is beautiful. I love it.
The San Diego of central Pennsylvania.
Yes. Except minus all of the nightlife. And it just really gave you a totally different perspective on you are training, you are here to train. Life was a lot slower. There wasn't as many distractions, which was the best thing for a group of people who all had the experience of, letting themselves, their training, and almost the country down. That's how we felt. That's how I felt in 2012. I almost didn't go back because I was just that was not what I envisioned all of our training to amount to. And there was always this spark of greatness within us that we could have been, but it really, it was just the person who came in, I still he's still one of my biggest mentors. He's wonderful. He, was tough and I was scared to death of it. Originally I was oh my God, this is not great. But it turned out to be one of the best things ever. And it created a real sense of belief in the group and, a real sense of competency that we hadn't had before. In our 2014 campaign, we went out and like smashed teams in the World Cup. And that was only after like probably 2 years of training with him. And then I think when you show the group of athletes a certain level of like almost reward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there is then this extreme buy-in, and we were so hungry for it. And then we went out and in 2015, ended up winning another Pan Am medal. Since then, it hasn't been done, to my knowledge, by the field hockey team. But it was. We were great. We were excellent. Had we have all stayed for a third round of the Olympics, like I do think we could have medaled. And I think like we had such a big hump, like international hockey. The biggest thing probably missing, like I said, is this professionalization of the sport here where adult women can play. But there, like, I mean, if you look at the average age of our group when we were playing, I think it was probably late 20s, late 20s was the average. The oldest player maybe was 30. And now it's just much younger because there's just not a seamless transition from like college to the national team. And women, we don't peak until like our late 20s.
Sure.
So there's just a big gap missing in our development here. And so development for us was like 2000. It was like an Olympics. It's the first one. And then it was like, wait, you have all this experience now. You have more time. You've been able to play at the speed of international hockey. You've seen it. You've been on the stage. And so all of that almost set a better foundation for us to compete in 2016. And I think like, at the U.S. level, there is a major gap. And it's hard to, where's the funding? Where do you get it? Like,
yeah.
So anyway.
And that is kind of the cruelty of the Olympics then, is a 4-year cycle, which is an eternity, and life happens and all these
and
things.
Ultimately, like everyone retired because of life. Like it's, we all want to be able to start our careers and potentially families. And I put that off. I mean, I had my first kid when I was 32. Like it's not really late, but like not what you think of when you're growing up as a young girl. You're like, do the whole song and dance before you're 30 when that's just not the case. But anyway, so
were you at the point that you retire 2018? I mean, you come here to Temple as an assistant in 2019, head coach 2020. So I mean, that all, at least from the outside, looks like it happens and evolves pretty quickly. Was that always the path then at that point? Like, was it coaching? I
fell in love with coaching. Okay. I think I caught like the coaching bug when I started in the youth level, and coming from a player to a coach, I think like it doesn't always result in you being a good coach.
I want to get back to that. Yeah. That's
it doesn't always result in that. And I think, to be honest with you, playing at a really high level actually makes it really hard to coach at the collegiate level. It does. It's actually, I always say this, like it's my greatest strength and biggest weakness, because like what I see and feel and experience, and it's sometimes not the easiest thing to translate and to show and to break it down. And so, this
is my big curiosity, because I have close friends that are Olympic level greatest ever in their sport that have struggled to train, because it's just like, well, I just did it's all, you have that like intrinsic ineffable quality. It's hard sometimes to translate that, because no disrespect to anyone, but you're not coaching Olympians, you're not coaching Michelle Vittese's. It's a different, it's a different, it's a totally different ballgame.
It was always that was the dream, I think. But for a while I wasn't sure. I was like, can I do this? Can I lead? And you always doubt. I mean, I have like the biggest imposter syndrome in the world. I just like, every day I'm like, how on earth am I in this position? How did I become important so quickly? I'm like, oh man. And I doubt myself. I mean, I blame myself for almost everything that goes poorly, even though it's like not, I always feel responsible in a way. And I think that makes me good at my job, but also sometimes I have to give myself grace, or the situation grace, or like, it just wasn't our, like, just kind of reframe it. But yes, it doesn't always mean that. And I think I did a lot of personal work as a player to become extremely self-aware, try to get very good at communication, and I'm still working at it. I'm nowhere near where I would want to be on a daily basis. managing people is obviously always very difficult. Managing expectations is also another challenge. Like, on the field stuff doesn't translate to being a leader. Like, it doesn't. Being in a team sport, yes, it gives you kind of a level up, but I think the biggest thing that prepared me for this role was just having a role in an unbelievable culture under the direction of like a pretty profound coach. He challenged us in ways and had conversations in ways and that like I had never heard before. And so I think that was the best thing that could prepare me to lead. Not so much as like playing at the high level, but being exposed to that type of environment and that type of culture. So it really does like change the way you think and operate in a team environment.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can't just copy paste that
No,
style.
no.
It's a totally different, just the level of buy-in, the level of talent that you're coaching at the Olympic levels. So, I mean, to be able to pull parts of that, but adapt it to where you are now, I think that's the gift.
I'm still, I don't know if I have the gift, but no, but yes, it is. It's definitely a challenge. And like I said, constantly evolving. I'm trying to get better at what I do every day. Like, every day at the end of a training session, I'm like, well, okay, these 3 things were like, and from my perspective, these 3 things were not the level I needed them to be at, either from the explanation perspective or, okay, I got too frustrated with this, or, I was too loose and didn't prioritize the discipline. Like, I am constantly trying to evaluate that, which I think, like I said, the extreme self-awareness to grow and get better and never feel settled is, I think, also what maybe helps me adapt and always look at it and not think that, yes, there is only a copy and paste way. How can I almost meet the group where they are and then try to slowly, move the needle in the right direction?
How much of that is informed by having Carissa on your staff?
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, a lot. I think her and I are very different in our approaches to things. I'm very like, I don't know, headstrong and stubborn and emotional in in good ways too. But I think where she is a little bit more level-headed, calm, sees things like, it's even her and I approach this like an argument. It's just so different. But she is that like steady force, like on the bench in my ear, before a game. She has a very high tactical sense, so I have extreme trust in her, which I think also, like any head coach, if you have extreme trust in your staff, like, it's a great working environment. Coach, but like any group.
Sure.
If you have a high level of trust, it really allows a lot of opportunity. Allows a lot of opportunity for, great results. So I would say she, being, the head coach is like the dream, but I think like the head coach is only as good as their staff.
Yeah, but it takes a lot on, and if this is too much about, you probably do you guys ever get sick of always having this be a line of questioning that you're coaching with your sister? What that,
no, but
does it wear on you guys ever?
No, not really. I think sometimes, like, I don't know, maybe an outsider looking in maybe is like, oh, that seems like that would be tough. But I think it all is related to your working relationship. And her and I, we go home and like sometimes we don't talk about hockey at all.
Right.
Like, we both have kids, and although I do feel like maybe she has a different answer than that, but like for me, no, I don't get sick of it. I'm so fortunate. I'm so lucky, and the girls are so lucky to have her as well. Team, the entire environment is lucky to have her. So,
well, if you don't mind me asking, the last kind of thread here is in all of this kind of rapid period of change, then directly after you do become a mom, and that is the last pillar that you're now balancing with all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's an under-discussed part of life in general, but particularly in athletics and in college athletics. I mean, you're coming right out of, we had COVID in the midst of all this too.
Yeah,
There's like that whole blur of those 24 months, and you come out of that and you're stepping still into this full-time role, first-time head coaching role, and having a baby on top of it, and now having two. I mean, it's
the hardest part of my job.
Sure. Yeah.
Juggling all of it is, I will not lie, it is hard. And I think it is very hard in the sense that, like, I am being a very big part of raising someone else's children, ultimately being here, being a part of their life, of their growth, of their development, of having conversations with some of these girls that, like, maybe they haven't had with their parents yet. And, like, that's just the privilege of being a coach. I take that very seriously. And sometimes I feel guilt of not being as present all the time. My kid's in daycare. I pick them up. Like, yeah, it is under-discussed. And I think that's part of it, though. I think it's okay. I was raised like that. Like, I was around my parents all the time, but I also was in daycare, in school. Like, they had to work. And I think...
Were you a latchkey kid? Like,
what does that mean?
Like, you go home from school and, we had like a key under in the grill, and you let yourself in, and
sometimes, like,
make a
it depended on the day. But
it's just that's unheard of now. That's the problem.
Yes.
Is like you would get called into child services now if they see your kid walking down the street, to go
alone.
It's just the world that we grew up in, and I would love to give that to my kids. And on this other hand, we don't do that anymore in 2025. You're around your kids constantly, and then when you're not,
but I think there is such a importance to your kid being stressed and struggling and learning how to navigate a very difficult and cruel world, like, sometimes alone, not like without support, but like, it's okay that, like, this environment is hard for them. This environment academically is hard. The hockey is okay. It's not where maybe they thought it would be, and their expectations are a little different, and they're having to adapt and adjust in a group and finding a role that might not necessarily have been what they want or their parents want. And I think, that's temporary. And I think as a parent, I try to always, like, reflect, and I have extreme levels of empathy in every room with every student athlete. Like, I would want that for my child. And I think actually being a mom has helped me be a better coach in some ways. It's definitely softened me up a little bit. But I think having them realize it is temporary and they have the ability and the agency to make change, like, that is what I would want. Someone to empower my child to feel confident in their choice. And also, maybe they're not super confident, but they have to do it anyway. And they have to, like, exert bravery and courage. And that is something I think that Division I athletics does, that sports in general does. And it is such a privilege to be able to play a sport, because they're making a million mistakes in a game. Not a million, but they're making a lot of mistakes in a game, and they have to find the mental fortitude to just, like, try again, to do it again. And it's just, I don't know. It's been really hard, and I do feel like extreme level of guilt, but I also love my job. I love this environment. I love what we've been able to build here. I love the people I work with. I love the girls we coach. Like, I love what we're doing. I love the competition. If I didn't have that, I don't know if I'd be a better mom. You know what I mean? Like, I think I probably wouldn't be the best mom that I could be.
All right, that's this week's episode of the Owl Pod. I want to thank my guest, Michelle Vittese, and remind you that David Litvin and Amelia Wright are back on the Tuesday edition of the Owl Pod with an all-new episode. I'll be back with you next Friday. We'll be joined by another Temple head coach who's got a great personal story to share. It's women's basketball head coach Diane Richardson. That's next Friday. David and Amelia have the Tuesday show. As a reminder, if you want to support the Owl Pod, please be sure to subscribe, leave a rating. Most of all, please tell your friends. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcasts. Get the Owl Pod Tuesdays and Fridays. Special thanks all the way across the pond this week to Christy Bannon, and a more local thank you, of course, to Justin Miller, Prince Moody, and our executive producer, Dan Lobaz. I'm Kevin Copp. Thanks so much for listening, everyone, and go Owls.